Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to VeriTran's webinar series, Stay Digital. I am Greynier Fuentes, VP of Digital Solutions at VeriTran, and I am very excited to have Jason Bloomberg with me today. Jason is president of industry analyst firm Analyst. He's a frequent contributor to numerous publications, and he's also the author of Low Code for Dummies, VeriTran's first book. Welcome, Jason.
Well, thank you very much, Greynier, and pleasure to be here. Let's see if we can get this moving here.
Sure, good having you here. Let's dive into low code action to discover how to accelerate your digital transformation journey. Jason will be presenting our main topic, followed by a demo. I will be showing using VeriTran's low code platform to build a digital wallet. Jason, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you very much. So a bit about me. I'm president of Untitled. We're an industry analyst firm focused on digital transformation. I write for a number of publications, as well as having written the Low Code for Dummies book in conjunction with VeriTran. So ask them if you'd like a copy. So just to kick us off, let's talk a bit about digital transformation. Definitely a buzzword in the industry. If anything, it's an overused buzzword. People are getting tired of talking about digital transformation, but it's still worth focusing on for a number of reasons. First of all, it's not really about the technology. It's about the customer. And at the center then of digital transformation is the customer and how the organization, the enterprise, must reorganize itself around customer needs and customer preferences. So in order to do this, organizations must be increasingly agile. They must be able to respond to change in the environment, leverage change for competitive advantage, and they must be able to do this quickly. Now, it's interesting. I put this slide together before the COVID-19 virus came along, but it's even more important now. If you think about it, the enterprises that are serving customers in the days of COVID, right, where customers are now more likely to interact from home, where the employees are working from home, and everything else has changed. Supply chains are disrupted and modes of business are disrupted. Customer centricity is more important than ever for enterprises who need to serve customers. Agility has been essentially very important. Some enterprises have been able to respond quickly to these dramatic changes in the business environment. Others have not. So the ones who did have the agility have achieved a marked level of success over the ones who didn't. And they, of course, had to do it very quickly. And the ones that are agile but slow are also falling behind. So all of these are especially important today. So when we start thinking about the technology world, well, traditional IT, information technology, at the center of the whole technology story is the infrastructure, right? You start with the hardware, you start with your cloud computing, you have your operating systems and your infrastructure software, whether it's middleware or Kubernetes or whatever you're doing, and that's the center of your world. And then you build on top of that, you put on applications and you put on user interfaces, and you eventually get to your end users, whether they're employees or customers or somebody else. That's the traditional way of thinking about IT. In the digital world, for organizations who've digitally transformed, the center of gravity is the customer. So you think about the customer, and this could mean the employee, because in a sense, the employee is the customer of IT, same as the end customer who is actually purchasing goods and services from your firm. You put them at the center, and then you say, well, depending upon the customer and the customer needs or the employee needs, what sort of technology needs to be brought to bear? What sort of organizational structures need to be brought to bear in order to meet those customer needs? So it's a different way of looking at how to leverage technology to meet customer needs, where the customer is at the center instead of the technology. So let's talk about how low code fits into the story. Well, first of all, there's some confusion around this term low code. Because there's another term that is no code, and it's a bit different, but they overlap and it can be sort of confusing. So when we talk about low code, we're primarily referring to platforms and tools that simplify and streamline the work of professional developers. So these are professional development tools that deliver enterprise apps or anything that the professional development team needs to deliver in a fraction of the time. So it streamlines the work, it makes it simpler, makes it easier, and it can actually improve quality as well, because a lot of the areas where there could be quality issues or security breaches or other problems with hand coding, well, the low-code platform takes care of those for you, so the resulting applications tend to be of higher quality as well. So that's very important as well. But these are primarily aimed at professional developers, although in many cases, these tools are becoming so simple that a broader range of business users can use them as well. So that's now overlapping the no-code space, which are tools that are aimed at that citizen developer audience. So there's a lot of overlap, right? Even though these tools are suitable for building true enterprise class apps, whether they be for PCs or for mobile use or other form factors, they're also often simple enough for business users to at least build a certain number of apps in. So the phrase low code would suggest that there is some coding involved, and while that is possible, that's not really what the point is here, right? In many cases, developers can use low-code tools to build applications without writing a single line of code. But it is an option, right? So if there is a particular need for writing code, then it's there, and sometimes that happens. But it's rather rare and happens only in special situations. So situation where you may want to hand code in the context of low code, if you have some sort of visual widget, something that goes in your user interface, some sort of mobile app element, user interface element that is custom, that is not in one of the vast libraries that are available, and you want to build something special and unique to your organization, there may be some coding. Or if you want to integrate to some sort of obscure or custom application behind the scenes. Well, most of these tools have plenty of connectors to all the sorts of apps you're likely to want to connect to, but there may be a situation where you need to hand code an integration to some unusual app. But other than that, really, there's little, if any, call for hand coding within the low-code environment. So what is really the focus here is creating either new applications, so bespoke, meaning custom applications, that can actually meet the business needs. So we're building applications more quickly. Sometimes we're building simple applications that may streamline the work of various employees in your organization. In other cases, these are customer-facing applications that help you meet customer needs better, increase your market share, increase your customer base, and those are strategic applications. So while a lot of times these applications are aimed at employees, in many cases they are aimed at customers as well. And this is especially important here in the days of the coronavirus, because many enterprises have had to rethink the sorts of apps they put in front of customers. So, and if you need to do that quickly, then obviously low code is a great way of doing that, and doing it better than perhaps hand coding could have done for you. So now, why would you want to use low code over alternative approaches? Well, first of all, it's not about replacing your professional developers, right? Because they're every bit as important as they have been before. But instead of working on some of the less valuable tasks, sort of the plumbing part of the hand coding story, where you're just connecting things up and worrying about security and dealing with all of the sort of nuts and bolts issues of handling logins, and a lot of the professional developers' time is spent just handling those plumbing issues. Well, low code helps shift them from these less valuable or less interesting tasks to more valuable, more interesting tasks, where now the developer is focusing on improving the customer experience, the end user of the application, working on application architecture issues that support scalability and other core requirements for these applications within the context of an enterprise environment, right? So the enterprise environment with many different applications and security and compliance concerns. Well, that's really what we want these professional developers to be spending their time on, instead of working on all of these plumbing issues that just slow them down. So another key benefit, and this is something that people often don't think about, is when the professional developers are using a low-code tool, they are better able to work with the business stakeholders on an ongoing basis, an iterative basis. So where a business stakeholder, this could be, department head or, product manager or whoever it happens to be, is now sitting in the same table with a handful of developers saying, well, this is what the app should do, this is how it should look. The developers can make those changes, show them to the product manager, and the product manager can say, well, maybe you should move this over there, maybe it has to work this way, right? So you have this collaborative environment that is empowered by the fact that low code gives you that level of rapidity and flexibility. So this is an agile benefit. If you've ever followed agile methodologies, where you're one of the key agile principles is putting the customer right there on the development team in order to have customer-centric development. Very difficult to achieve in practice with hand coding. Well, with low coding now, this is becoming increasingly practical and a great way of building just what the business needs quickly and efficiently. So, and it can respond to changing needs as well, because your customer needs aren't fixed, they continue to evolve. When changes in the business environment come along, COVID is an extreme example, but even outside of COVID, changing business requirements is a typical thing. So having this kind of dynamic interaction between developers and business stakeholders is a great way to respond to dynamic customer needs. So if you're responding to dynamic customer needs, then part of the story is innovation. Now, innovation isn't necessarily responding to customer needs. It's also bringing new things to market that customers didn't even know they wanted, right? And this is Steve Jobs, Steve Jobs' principle, right? He didn't do focus groups. He didn't ask customers what they wanted. He built what customers wanted. They didn't know they wanted it. Nobody had ever heard of an iPad till Apple came up with one. And then all of a sudden, people went from not knowing what the hell one was to wanting one, right? Overnight, right? And this is part of the magic of innovation. Well, in order to do this innovation well at the enterprise level, you need to have a way of focusing on what customers will want to do, will want for themselves. So this involves visual prototyping, this ongoing cooperation I was talking about, as well as a way of focusing on the user interface as well as the underlying functionality. So many of these low-code platforms help the developers focus on these graphical elements, the user design elements that are especially important with mobile applications. You have a very small piece of real estate on those phones, right? And you need to get that interaction correct, whether it's the buttons or the sliders or the touch sensitivity, the drag and drop capabilities, all of the interaction modalities that end users are expecting on their phones or other handheld devices. Getting those right can be very tricky, and a low-code platform that focuses on mobile development and user experience can streamline and improve the quality of those kinds of capabilities and foster this built-in user feedback, right? Because the development cycles can be quite rapid. All of this helps now foster innovation, because organizations now essentially have permission to try new and different things, right? Before, with hand coding, because it might take so many months to roll out some new capability, you have to spend all this time planning it ahead of time, because you don't want to waste 6 months on some new app only to find that customers don't like it, right? Well, with low code, you can try things, see what the response is, rework them, try something new, innovate, be bold, take risks on a much more rapid basis. And this can be important even for mission critical apps. This is something we're finding in the days of COVID. The banks, for example, have struggled to keep up with the new lending programs coming out of Congress that all of a sudden hit the market, and now hundreds of thousands of people are asking the banks for these new kinds of loans. So the banks have had to scramble to build not just the user interfaces, the forms, the application forms, but all of the infrastructure behind the scenes to process and approve these loans. And they've had to do it in a matter of days. Well, the ones that are using low code are the ones that are able to successfully deliver on this, and the ones that are trying to do it with hand coding are falling behind. So I'm talking a bit about mobile applications, and of course mobile is often at the center of many enterprise IT customer-facing initiatives as well as employee-facing initiatives. Today's employees are more likely to use a handheld device than a laptop or a PC in many situations as well. But there's more to building applications than just building the mobile part of the story. And it's actually multiple dimensions here, and there's talk about 3 of them here. First of all, there's the front to back dimension, right? On the front, we have the user interface, the customer facing and employee facing capabilities that are often on mobile apps. But at the far other end are the systems of record. In the bank's case, it could be core transactions on a mainframe, but it could also be ERP transactions or other back office transactions. And then everything in between has to work, right? If there's any slowdown or roadblock or lack of functionality between front and back, then the end user experience is adversely impacted. So all of that is part of the story. Then there's the breadth of interaction, right? I talk about mobile devices, but of course, end users, in particular consumers, may want to interact with companies in many different ways. One day it might be via the mobile app, the next day it might be email or social media, or in theory they could walk into a store. I guess nobody's doing that at the moment, but give it a few months, people could walk into a store and interact with a sales representative who has their own, iPad, and now they're interacting indirectly on behalf of the customer. So there's all these diversity of customer touch points and form factors that now is also part of this low-code story. And then there's the depth of community that if you think about what goes into a modern web page, just take the web page alone, not the rest of the application. Well, if you ever look behind the scenes, look at the source of a web page, there are usually dozens of plugins and widgets and tags and ads and all these different things that come from third parties. Right? So one web page might be delivered by 50 companies who all have to work together without slowing down that user experience. So there's this broad ecosystem of vendors and services and third parties of various sorts that all go into building enterprise application functionality, especially in this digital context where we're focusing on the needs of the end user. So when we talk about low code, we're not necessarily talking about the enterprise context, but there is this class of low code technology that we like to call enterprise low code. So what makes enterprise low code enterprise? What are those enterprise pieces? Well, first of all, if you look at these large organizations, they already have application development teams, right? They're already working with a variety of technologies. There'll be some that are focusing on applications, others focusing on infrastructure, right? And in many cases, they're focusing on modernizing existing applications, right? So the greenfield, brand new apps may be part of the story, but in enterprise context, modernizing something old is typically a greater challenge, right? The brand new stuff is more the exception than the rule. So whether it's extending existing application, adding new functionality, modernizing it, replacing it, or integrating different apps together where you're connecting old to new or two different new things together, or leveraging some sort of existing cloud-based app or other third-party app, all of that now is part of the story, right? Rarely do you have a standalone brand new app that some developer is coding from scratch, right? That is not typically what happens in the enterprise. Of course, enterprises have to deal with security and regulatory compliance, which could be a variety of different things. Could be integrating with Active Directory or some other login system. It could be following compliance requirements. It could be data sovereignty or GDPR or other regulations as well. You need to comply with those, but you don't want the compliance activities to slow down the development. So there's this balance, right? How do you accelerate what you're doing in order to provide what customers need quickly, but still be compliant and secure? And that is part of the enterprise low-code context. Now, one of the problems with low-code and no-code in the past, earlier generations, is the shadow IT problem. Right? I like to call this a Lotus Notes problem, not to pick on one app, but that one was notorious, where it was easy enough for these citizen developers, business developers, to build their own apps in Lotus Notes. They wouldn't tell IT, so nobody was managing them. Nobody was making sure that there was any quality or compliance security requirements, and then there was a lot of redundancy, and it's just a big mess, and that's what we call shadow IT. Well, now we need low code to avoid that. But yes, it's easy for anybody to build an app now, but we don't want to be in a situation where we end up with security or compliance or quality issues. So enterprise low-code tools have to work with the IT organization to provide sufficient IT governance to ensure the shadow IT problems don't occur. And then, of course, if you think about the infrastructure, the enterprise IT infrastructure. It's not just on premises, it's one or more clouds, so it could be multiple clouds. So you have this hybrid IT context where some things are on premises, some things are in one or more clouds, could be private or public clouds. And all of that is part of how organizations are modernizing their legacy infrastructure. So low-code is a key part of that story, whether it's helping to modernize applications or supporting applications that could run in different environments. So low-code tools may create apps that run in the cloud, may create apps that run on premises, depending upon the business need. So there may be a particular need, say a data sovereignty need, that requires you to run an app on premises, and that's something that low-code, enterprise low-code should take care of. So I'm talking a bit about modernization, and modernization itself has changed substantially in the last 5 to 10 years, and low-code has been a key part of that story as well. The old way of thinking about legacy modernization is that we had two bad options, right? There was a lose-lose situation. We could either rip and replace all the old stuff, which nobody wanted to do because it was expensive and risky. We'd have to go for a while without in between the old and the new, and it was just too big a risk. So organizations often said, well, we're just going to leave the stuff alone. Now what do? Well, we have to leave in layers. So we leave all our old stuff alone. We put, screen scraping on top of it, or APIs or whatever, so that we can access it. But all the problems that we had because it's older technology, we still have, right? We put lipstick on the pig. So it's either take all the risks of ripping it out or putting lipstick on the pig. So neither option was very good. Well, low-code is part of the modern approach to modernization. So we're modernizing modernization because it helps bring a modular approach to modernization. So we've seen many organizations take this legacy app, say your ERP application. Well, you don't want to rip and replace it. It's too core to your business. There's too many things connected to it. But there are parts of it that are obsolete. So you can update those bits. Right? So it's not, it may be monolithic in terms of its architecture, but not in terms of its functionality. You can take parts of it and update those or replace those, leveraging low code. And you're essentially adding new capabilities to some of these older system of record apps, making them more modern, more digital, more customer focused. And that is a very common pattern where low code is now leveraged in the context of legacy modernization to bring all the benefits of low code, streamlined application development, higher quality, more rapid delivery of capabilities to customers within the context of these enterprise systems of record. Now, within the banking in particular, low code is of particular use. Quite a number of banks, both the very large banks as well as regional banks, the mid-sized banks, are leveraging low code for a number of reasons. Of course, every bank needs a mobile strategy, and if you have a mobile strategy from 5 years ago, you need a new one, right? The 5-year-old mobile stuff is not cutting it. Customers are very particular. So you need a next generation mobile strategy where mobile is not just a separate thing. It's not just here's all our banking, oh yeah, we have a mobile app, but rather mobile is driving all the interactions, especially with your consumer customers. So you need sophisticated interactivity, you need to keep up with all the technology, and really the mobile capabilities that a bank has really should be a competitive differentiator. Right? What makes you different from another bank? Well, it's not like you have a better checking account. All checking accounts are pretty much the same. But if you have a better mobile experience, not just the app, but the whole experience, that is something that will attract customers and convince them to stay. So part of this is focusing on the customer journey, not just the interaction with a single touch point, but all of the interactions between a customer and the bank over time. So it could be email, it could be phone, could be social, right? A whole lot of interactions should all be integrated. So there's a lot of back office work that needs to go on, making sure customer service reps understand all of the email interactions and the Twitter interactions that customers had with the bank. And low code can help both back office as well as front office, because the customer service reps are themselves using applications. Today, of course, all the customer service reps are working from home using perhaps their own computers or computers issued by the banks, connecting to their home Wi-Fi and providing customer service capabilities to incoming customers who are calling in, but they're using these apps on their computers, and low code can help meet those needs as well. But the bottom line here is that we need to put the customer in charge. The customer is driving what they want, whether it's from a bank or really any other organization as well. So to sort of sum up, Part of the digital context is that every company is a software company. In the days of COVID, this is becoming especially true because the non-software bits of what your company does are those human interaction bits, right? The meeting in the office and taking care of business. Those now have been put on hold. So what's left? What's left are the software-driven bits of your business. How are you interacting with customers? How are you supporting employees today? You're doing it with technology. You're doing it with the applications you put into people's hands. And so this is so important for organizations today, and it's really going to become the template for business in the future. So if your organization has struggled with digital transformation up to this point, well, if you can survive COVID, if you can provide the right customer value and support your employees, you're better positioned to be a more digitally transformed organization even after the virus is part of history. So many of this has to do with changing around the way we think about customers, right? We don't want to have, and how we think about the relationship between the IT organization and the lines of business, right? We're all on the same side, and we want to make sure that everybody is aligned with customer needs, as opposed to the business IT alignment problems of the past, where there's an adversarial relationship that doesn't meet customer needs. So essentially, we want to have technology empowered but customer-driven organization. Technology is connecting people and companies together, plays a vital role, but the role it's playing is to support customer and employee needs today and into the future as those needs continue to evolve. So that's it for my talk. There's my email address. Feel free to contact me, and my Twitter handle, the eBizWizard. Copy of the book. Talk to the VeriTran folks if you'd like a copy, and I will turn it now over to Greynier. Greynier, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jason. Great content. And as promised, I will go ahead and start sharing my screen now so I can show you a live presentation of using VeriTran's local platform to build a digital wallet. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so I'll share my whole screen, and we'll go ahead and switch over to our marketplace, which is going to be our starting point. As you can see, our marketplace is divided into three main sections: app templates, feature templates, and components and services. For today's demo, we'll be using an application template of a digital wallet, and then we'll dive into our studio after subscribing to such template, which is where all the magic happens. And we'll show you how we can go from having nothing at all to a fully functioning wallet, which is certified by Visa and MasterCard in just a few minutes, just to show you some of the great advantages of using low-code, especially VeriTran's low-code platform. So to get started, we'll go ahead and log into our platform here to get subscribed to one of these templates and start building away our digital wallet. Now, the local platform, this is one of the beauties of such platforms where we can get started from pre-built templates that can quickly get us from point A to point B and being able to deliver a solution into customer hands without having to write a single line of code. All right, we'll go ahead and use our credentials here. There you go. Let's go ahead and click that again. For some reason, it wasn't loading properly. There you go. We'll go ahead and type in our credentials to log in into our marketplace. And once we log in, oops, sure, let me go ahead and get the right password. So we can log in. There you go. All right, once we're logged in, we'll go ahead and filter by an application template, and we'll show you how quickly we can go in from that template into our studio and be able to perform some actions like creating the application, deploying it, and have it deployed to a mobile device in just a few minutes. All right, great. As you can see from the marketplace, we have quite a few templates to choose from. We have features, applications like notifications, banking applications, e-commerce sites, smart notifications, retail banking, and so on. So for today's demo, we'll go ahead and filter by an application template. Once we do that, we should have a few application template options to choose from. We'll go ahead and as promised, subscribe to the Spring Wallet application template to get started with the building of our wallet. All right. We'll go ahead and subscribe to the Spring Wallet here in a second. All right, as you can see, I have successfully subscribed to the Spring Wallet application template here. As you can see, I have it now as an option on the right. And then we'll go ahead and jump right into our VeriTran Studio, which is where all the magic happens. And we'll start building this application from such template. And then after that, deploy it to the mobile device to further take advantage of these applications. We'll let it finish loading here. What's happening here, it's getting all of the resources and screens, all the logic, everything preloaded. So now within the studio, I can go in and build off of that and be able to deliver all of that functionality very quickly to the mobile device. As you can see, the VeriTran Studio is now loading. Once it's there, we'll go ahead and start building. While we have many options to build from scratch or from a template, we'll go ahead and stick to our demo today and build from that template. to get us up and running as quickly as possible. But we're not limited to such quick and easy steps of getting an application to go through. We can definitely get started from scratch and get creative when building an application if we don't like any of the templates that are on the marketplace. All right, we'll go ahead and create an app very quickly from a template, like I mentioned. And now I should have the option of a blank application and the option to select that Spring Wallet template that I subscribe to from the marketplace. So you can see, I will go ahead and select that template. I will go to step 2. I'll provide a name for my wallet. I'll call it Demo Wallet. I can do description as well. I can do the logo, but for now, I'll leave it as default, and I'll go to step 3, where I can further customize. As you can see here, I have some pre-built templates, themes to personalize my application. I'll go ahead and leave it as default for now, and I'll proceed to create the application. Now, what's happening here, the application is being created off of that template, where I can quickly get all of those screens, all the connections to the backend systems, transactions, etc., and all of the features that you expect from a digital wallet. They're being created and getting it ready for me to be able to publish it and get it out to my mobile device. Now, the beauty of the platform comes after users get this application in their mobile device the first time. They no longer have to come back to the digital stores to get updates to the application. And this is one of the great capabilities of our platform. As updates get delivered, users get them automatically without any effort on their part. You know, they just simply log out and log in again, and now they have this new functionality, or something that wasn't intended to put there gets removed, and so on. So it is very flexible, and it requires very little interaction from the user to get these updates in their hands. All right, so we'll give it a few more seconds here for the application to get created. And once it does, it should be ready for us to publish it. And I'll switch to my mobile device here in a second to show you exactly how we go from the studio into the mobile device. All right. Now, within the demo environment, a few things happen when the application is being created and then published. It generates a QR code for the development team to test the application and be able to see how it's exactly going to look like once it's delivered to production. Now, once in production, the platform is also capable of delivering and building the DLLs for the different digital stores, whether that is iOS and Android. Now, we're here demoing a mobile application. But remember, this is a completely omni-channel solution, meaning that we can also create for the web, for the smartwatch, ATMs, POSs, etc. All right. All right. We'll just give it a few more seconds here for the application to finish loading, and we should be on our way to deploying it on the mobile device. Remember, there's a lot of things that are being built right now from that template. While it seems like we just did a few clicks, there's actually a lot of screens that are getting populated, and connections to backend systems and so on. So bear with us a few more seconds, and we should be on our way. Oh, sorry, I click back here. Let me just tap it again. So it was taking a little bit longer. Let me just quickly recreate that. We only got about 3 more minutes left. Hopefully we can, this can get completely created to show it to you on the mobile device, and then we'll open it up for a Q&A session. So we'll give it a few more seconds here for it to get created. While we wait for this application to get created, we'll go ahead and start, reading a couple of questions here we have for Jason and myself while the application, and I'll show you in a second how once this loads to put it on the mobile device. So we'll go ahead and Jason, you still there with us?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. Well, I'll read out a couple of questions I have here for you, and then I'll go over a couple of questions that I have ready for me as well from the audience. The first question for you, Jason, it's how can low-code platforms help enterprises in this COVID-19 scenario?
Well, I did talk about a few of the situations. Really, the question is whether or not the COVID scenario, the COVID-19 scenario is giving you new or dynamically changed application requirements. So there are different situations. So it could be, I mentioned for bank customers, we're trying to support these new loans, the PPP, the Payment Protection Plan loan, for example. That would be a perfect example, but it could be any other kind of new service that has come up. For employees, there are a number of situations as well. Because employees have shifted to work from home, there could be any number of different sorts of applications that may be now urgently needed in order to support the work from home environment. So a variety of HR apps, or providing IT support for work from home personnel, or any number of things. And keep in mind, these are situations that you couldn't have planned for, right? Who knew a month ago that you would need these kinds of apps? And that's the sort of situation where low code is especially good. Obviously, if you have a plan and you know what apps you're going to be building, and you have this whole 12-month sort of roadmap, then the low code works as well. But in today's situation, the needs could be so sudden and so mission critical that really there's no other way of approaching them. So low code, if anything, is a lifesaver for many of these organizations today.
Perfect, great. Thank you, Jason. Here's the second question I have from the audience. Do you think the banking industry is responding correctly to consumers' needs during COVID-19?
Sorry, I missed part of that. Do I think what?
Do you think the banking industry is responding correctly to consumers' needs during COVID-19?
Well, I mean, I have experience with my bank. I don't want to name them because they were a bit spotty in their response. But different banks are in different situations, and some of them are responding quite well to these new requirements. Others are struggling. So it's really all over the place. It'd be great if every bank had a low-code platform like VeriTran's, but unfortunately that's not yet the case. Keep working at it, VeriTran folks. But so I would say that it's hit or miss. Some are doing well, some are not.
Great. And I'd also have thank you, Jason. I also have a couple of questions for myself here from the audience that I'll read out and I'll respond as well. And I'll reshare my screen in a second here because the application actually loaded and I have the QR code. I want to show you guys what the application looks like on the mobile device, but we'll go over the questions first. What are the key benefits a bank can expect to gain from implementing our local platform? And the answer is, besides the obvious benefits of security, since we serve mainly the financial industry, not only the financial, but mainly, we can also expect the greatest benefit from our platform is creating that ultimate experience very quickly and easily. Time to market. We're able to deliver what usually takes a year or 2 years. We're able to deliver in 3 months or 6 months. So we can cut down those delivery times in half or more, meaning that we can get products, services, and solutions out there to consumers very quickly without any effort using VeriTran's local platform. Second question is, does your product require integration with the bank's core processing system? And the answer is yes. Not only we can connect to bank core systems, we are able to connect to any backend system, even if they're legacy. And that's the beauty of our platform. We're able to connect to all these different backend sources, whether there is a CRM, an ERP, a core banking system, a processor, any type of backend system. We'll consolidate all of those connections into a single pane of glass, and we'll deliver that ultimate experience out to the consumer. Okay, so and that's one great advantage of the platform, because you can deliver that unified experience across all the channels, whether that is mobile, web, desktop, etc. And with that questions, I don't think we have any more questions from the audience. And I will go ahead and reshare my screen. That way I can show you I actually stopped the process where after the application. And what it generated, it was this QR code that you see on my screen right now. And I want to actually split my screen so I can show you also my mobile device in action. And we can all see how we can get an application from our studio running into our mobile device. And as I mentioned, on our mobile device, we have an application called VeriTran Go, which is actually expecting us to read a QR code, which is the QR code you have on the left on our studio. Once we read that QR code, the configuration gets downloaded into this application, and then it becomes the digital wallet I promise we're going to be building today. So we go ahead and scan that QR code. Once we do, my application will it's asking me to reconfigure the application. So we'll go ahead and confirm and reset. And just like that, in just a few seconds, that configuration is going to download into the mobile device, and my VeriTran Go application will become my digital wallet, just like that, where I can now log in with my demo credentials. I can go ahead and accept that. And I just now went from having nothing on my marketplace to subscribing to a template and deploying a completely functional wallet with my Visa and MasterCard credit cards, as well as my personal funds, where I can make a payment to somebody by their name, phone number, QR code, or even an NFC if it's supported. I can also receive a payment from someone, and what that'll do is expose a QR code that now someone that's paying me can read and make a payment out to me. I can take out funds from my personal account, where I can just simply, was happening here, this is pulling out from our authentication servers, is pulling out a one-time code that I can, with an expiration time, I can now walk up to an ATM, input it in, and get my funds out, and making it a very secure transaction as it expires, and it's a one-time use only. And I can perform some other actions like adding or removing one of my accounts. I can set transaction limits. And this is just some of the basic functionality. And as you can see, we've gone from creating an application from a template in our marketplace, which is filled with them. We went into our studio, we created that application, we named it, and we simply read a QR code. And as I mentioned in production, we also generate the DLLs that goes into the App Store, whether that is for Apple or Android, and users simply get that the first time. And then any other features that we add or a change in the look and feel, they automatically get it by performing a transaction that they usually do, which is as simple as logging in and logging out, or simply performing a P2P transfer within the application, and they automatically get those changes seamlessly delivered to them. All right, with that, I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen. We hope that you enjoy, and I'll just check one more time to make sure that we don't have any more questions. And if we do, we'll go ahead and answer them. We actually have one more question. Is the app available in all countries? And the answer is yes. Our platform is hosted in the cloud in Amazon, and so we can deliver pretty much any country or region. Not only we're able to deliver the platform in the cloud, we can also do on-premise and a hybrid approach as well. All right, feel free to ask any question. We just have a few more minutes left in the Q&A session. Let me go through the chat window, see if there's any other questions. All right, we have one more question here. Please print Jason's email. Jason's email has been sent to the chat window there for your information. We have one more question that we'd like to answer. How much effort is needed for integrations, and how long can that project take? It usually depends, but we can do it very quickly and very fast if the integration is API or web service. And we can do that, I can safely say, within 3 to 4 weeks. Now, it'll take a little bit longer if we're integrating to a legacy system. But when we're dealing with APIs and web services, we can deliver on that promise very quickly. Like I said, a month or less. All right. Now, we have another question here. If someone who already has a store, is it possible to migrate to VeriTran? Now, if I assume about the store as being the marketplace, the answer is no. Any application template or feature template that gets built in our platform, we can export it and import it out of VeriTran's platform hosted in different clients or locations. That we can do, but not from a different vendor. We're not able to do. Now, if you're talking about an application that is in the Apple Store or anything like that, yes, we can migrate it over to the different places. Right. Jason, I don't have any more questions here. I don't know if you'd like to add anything to, and if you don't, we'll go ahead and get ready for closing out the webinar.
Yeah, I think we did a good job of covering all the topics. So I see we're almost at the top of the hour anyway.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. We hope that you enjoyed the webinar, digital transformation using low code. If you want more information, you contact us at the email addresses that we've and all the contact information that we've placed in the chat window. We'll be delivering the on-demand version of this webinar. We hope that you enjoy it. Thanks again, and see you in our next webinar. Have a great day and stay safe.